Hey guys, what's up? This is Brandon Chen. I'm an author of manga, novels, and webtoons. If you didn't know, I used to be a finance bro all the way up until May of this year. Okay, relax, I wasn't a trader or anything. I was more on the technology side of things, but now I'm an author who writes for major publishers like Webtoon and Tapas, as well as a content creator, and I do this full time. I'm excited to dive into what I learned in 2021, but first I want to make sure that you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Smash it, please. Maybe comment what you learned in 2021, some personal lessons, and drop a subscribe and hit the bell notification to make sure that you're staying updated on all my content. All right, now let's get into the video. So 2021 was a huge year for me. After 7 years of being a published author part-time, I turned 24 in May and quit my cushy finance job the week after. Definitely had a quarter-life crisis, but ended up working out. So just to go over a few things that happened this year, I hit 1 million followers on TikTok. Very exciting. I have 3 original serialized series with a company called Voice Me, including God Game, which is one of my most popular titles. I secured 2 Webtoon original titles that are going to be coming out early next year, so 2022. I have some projects with Tapas also locked in as well. I'm working on an independent video game as a narrative writer. I'm working on novels. I'm working on pitches to major studios. I'm developing more intellectual property than ever before, which is super exciting for me because I love stories. I even got flown out to San Diego in November to speak about the rise of Korean comics on a panel with Eric freaking Nam. It's crazy. And if you don't know, he's a singer, so you can go Spotify him later. But yeah, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? You might even call it success. And it's only been half a year since I quit my job. But that's the first thing that I really started to think about a lot this year. You know, when you think of someone and you think, you know, I want to be like that. I get a lot of DMs of people saying that, you know, they want to be like me or become an author, become a whatever, webtoon creator. And that's fantastic. And I think a lot of people think about how lucky someone is. They don't really see a lot of, you know, the failures that people have to go through in order to reach that particular point. You know, for me, I look up to a lot of famous mangaka in Japan who, you know, like Tite Kubo, who did Bleach, because I want to eventually have my own anime adaptation for my own projects, right? And I think about, wow, like that guy's an anime, he's so cool. But honestly, he's gone through so much failure himself just to reach that point as well. You know, people work very hard to get where they are. I still have a very long way to go. Even if people are saying like, Brandon, you have this level of success, I think I'm still very much at the beginning of my career. You know, I spent 7 years with a very small readership. And now in the last year or two, things have really started to pick up and blow up, but that's still 5 to 6 years of pretty much what I'd consider failure. Like, yeah, I was grinding my ass off with very minimal results. You know, that's failure if I'd say so. And most people, honestly, if they were in my position, you know, they had a cushy finance job and they spent 5 to 6 years getting not the awesome results for their writing, you know, some people would have given up, I think. So I think it's very easy to idolize or think very highly of people who have reached your goal. But also, and it's easy to look back at yourself and think, wow, I wish I could be like that, or wow, I'm failing, how come I can't be like that? But at one point, they were also probably at your level or even worse, below, struggling. So just don't think that those people didn't fail. You know, they went through a lot as well just to reach that point. So there's going to be a lot of hardship in your way, but, you know, if you work hard enough, you can potentially reach that level too. Another thing I learned this year is that if you're very young, it's good to take risks because regret is going to haunt you a lot later on in life. So I turned 24 in May and was entering this quarter life crisis and was thinking about, you know, should I continue this finance bro lifestyle and potentially live a very predictable lifestyle, or I could quit my job and take a very risky path, the road less traveled, and have my life spiral off into the potential unknown. But I would be happy doing so because it's in pursuit of something that I enjoy and I'm very passionate about, right? I'll talk more about happiness later. I can make a whole video on happiness, but you know, I think if you're young and you can afford to fail, aka you have very small amount of liabilities, so you don't have a whole house, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids, you know, you can make a decision without like having your entire life spiral out of control. You know, if you don't have that many liabilities, if you fail, you can mostly walk out unscathed. I think taking risks is a very scary thing, but they also have the potential to be something very great. If you're a young person, you can take risks and potentially gain something great, or fail and still like live to tell the tale, right? Meanwhile, on the other side, regret is something that really does stick with you. Yeah, it does. It feels a lot better to have tried something and even failed at it than to live, in the future and think about what ifs and regretting something that you wish you knew the outcome of. And who knows, we're talking a lot about failure here, but what if you succeed? Then that would be awesome, and then all the risks would be worth it. And if you didn't take that risk ever, you never would have been able to find that success. For me, it was like very much like jumping into an unknown field, because there's very few manga or webtoon full-time authors in the United States. If you can name some that are very, very like prominent in today's culture, please let me know. I would say it's even harder than being an actor, because an actor, like you can name like a bunch of famous actors. You can't name that many famous manga or webtoon authors in the United States. So it's still a growing space, and there's a lot of consumers of it, but everyone's usually in Asia who's making content for this space. So for me, there was a very high chance of failure. Like, I expected to fail. However, I made a very calculated decision, because I was working as an author on the side for roughly 7 years, and I'd built up an audience and projects that were already acquired by publishers. So it made sense for me to kind of make this jump, because, I'd already kind of minimized my risk by setting up all these other income streams that, were kind of primed and ready for when I did make that leap. So yeah, when I say take risks, I'm not saying take risks without a plan. Have a plan. The bigger the risk, I think the bigger the plan you should have. Plans help to kind of minimize the risk, and you want to minimize your risk as much as possible before you make any sort of big decision, right? And for me, obviously, that was having projects set up, writing and social media income primed and ready for when I did make that jump. So yeah, that's the second thing I really thought a lot about this year, and I learned. And I think the third thing would be to embrace rejection, because it's a part of every aspect of life. And rejection, I've talked about this, rejection is natural, and you shouldn't fear it. Oftentimes, it's actually not even your fault. It's just that some things really just don't line up. So I think the important thing is to really learn how to take rejection and move forward with kind of minimal damage to kind of your self. Whether it's girls or boys that are rejecting you in your life, or publishers that are saying that your idea is not the right fit, that doesn't mean that you're not worthy or that your project is not worthy. That's not what that means at all. I think that if everyone is rejecting you, maybe you should start having some kind of self-reflection, seeing like, hey, why is everyone rejecting me? Then maybe that's an indication of something internally that might be you're doing wrong. But usually in general, you shouldn't take all rejections to heart. Especially if you're already striving to kind of be the best version of yourself to try and minimize those risks, then really you shouldn't be thinking about like, all these rejections are all my fault, all that stuff. That's not how you should be thinking. So you should just take rejection, accept it, and try and be the best person that you can be going forward to try and minimize any sort of rejections that happen, right? So that hopefully it stops happening if there's anything wrong with you, but usually that's not even the case. Fourth thing I learned this year is that you don't know how close you are to the goal. Success usually does hit out of nowhere, right? Let's say that you're job hunting and you just got rejected by 100 freaking jobs. That would suck, because that's exactly what happened to me in college. You're interviewing all the time, and it never seems that you get the job you want. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hit your dream job. The success comes out of nowhere. All that nonsense job interviews, it all like seems to have like reached this one point. But before, you were applying frantically and there was nothing in sight, right? And now all of a sudden you have that level of success, and now you've got it. And that's usually how it goes. Success just kind of hits you out of nowhere. There's a lot of grind, there's a lot of failure, and usually you don't see the fruits of your labor immediately. But once success hits, that shit starts to snowball. And it's a very exciting thing. I've been a published author for so many years, and really only the last like year or two, it started to take off, and the growth has been exponential and fantastic. Years ago, I never knew this was going to happen. You can't predict this. But when it does, you just got to hit it, keep doing what you're doing, and use it as motivation to move forward. The fifth thing I learned this year is to prioritize time and happiness. And I can make a whole video on this, so maybe I will, but for now, money is great, but time is even more important. Time is actually, in my opinion, the greatest asset, because you can always get more money, but you can't always get more time. Life is going to fly by before you know it, and you're going to be wondering where all that time that you used to have went. In addition, happiness itself is not something that you can just simply buy. I would much rather be chasing my own dream, making less money but doing what I want, than working a job where I have a crazy high salary but it's not something that I really care about, right? If you're unhappy and you're watching your life kind of just buzz by, I think that's a really tragic thing. And a lot of people do it. A lot of people just watch their life just buzz by and are totally cool with just watching it go by, which is kind of sad to me a little bit. I think everyone in their life should be thinking about what makes them happy. Because if you don't live life in pursuit of your own happiness, are you really gonna enjoy life? Obviously, everyone has different circumstances, different things that they're going through. But I really do think that if you have the means, that we as people should pursue the things that do make us happy, rather than the things that society values very heavily, which is prestige and money. Right? I left a job that makes good money, that's also considered semi-prestigious, for a very less prestigious job. In fact, everyone that is a normal person will tell you, wow, you make anime stories? That's freaking nerdy. That's weird. People will call that weird. People will call that nerdy. People will think I'm kind of a freak. Maybe it's a little bit more socially acceptable now after the whole like anime COVID explosion, but still people think it's kind of weird. It's a weird thing. And I don't really care because it makes me happy. And you know what? I actually took that risk and I make more money than I did before too. So I also want to note that chasing happiness and time and wealth and prestige, those are not like mutually exclusive things. You can have both. It's just that usually when you chase wealth and prestige first, there's a potential that you might sacrifice the things that make you happy. Like if you were to pursue a job that wasn't something you were interested in but gives you a lot of money or prestige, right? Rather than if you chase something that makes you happy first, you could turn that into something that, you know, will make you more money, or people kind of think it's a cool thing. Anyway, the bottom line is I just want you guys to be happy people with minimal regrets, and that's all. So yeah, think about it. Don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. Anyway, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed anything that I said, make sure you drop a like and comment what kind of content you would like to see from me on the next video. I'm very curious. I read most of my comments, so also if you're interested in learning how to even start writing for manga or webcomics, I have a class. I created a class for you guys. The link is going to be in the description, as well as my projects if you're interested in reading any of those. Would really appreciate any support there. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Subscribe and catch you guys in the next video.